Over the past few weeks, Conor McGregor versus Dustin Poirier 2, the rematch has been in negotiations, and it feels like we're finally getting to the point in time where pen will meet paper, contracts will be signed, the official fight will be announced, the official date will be announced, January 23rd, UFC 257. We all kind of already know the deal. 2021, kick the new year off with a big bang with McGregor's name, a great matchup, a title elimination bout, two great big marquee names at the top of the event as well, including Dustin Poirier. That's an amazing fight. Everyone seems to be in agreement here. Conor McGregor wants the fight to happen. Dustin Poirier wants the fight to happen. The UFC and Dana White also want the fight to happen. So we're done. Negotiations over. Officially announced the fight already. But wait, there's a reason why this fight hasn't been officially announced already. Because one last bit of negotiation is taking place. And that is, what weight class will this fight take place at? And I don't think there should be any negotiation on this, but there is some negotiation on this, and everyone seems to be talking about this recently regarding this fight, so I thought I'd weigh in on the situation in this video. Conor McGregor wants to fight at 170, Dustin Poirier wants to fight at 170, this is a title elimination bout for a lightweight division, just thought I'd point out, which is 155 pounds. McGregor wants it at 170, Poirier wants it at 170, UFC and Dana White do not want it at 170. I just read a headline, Dana White says Conor McGregor versus Dustin Poirier has to happen at lightweight. That fight means nothing at 170 pounds. I completely agree with him here. I'm on Dana White's side, but I also can see why, of course, Conor McGregor would want this fight at 170 and Dustin Poirier would want this fight at 170, because I think if you asked any single fighter on the entire roster, hey, you're going to have a title elimination bout and you're not going to have to cut barely any weight, they would most likely say yes in a heartbeat. Where do I sign, Dana White? I'll do anything for you from now on. Thank you for blessing me, your holiness. That's what they would do. But this is a weird situation. I thought I'd weigh in on it. I agree with Dana White here. This fight needs to take place at 155 pounds. Cut the bullshit, eh? No more of this go up to 170 business. I was all on board with the Conor McGregor versus Donald Cerrone fight, and usually I wouldn't mind this happening. I get catchweight fights. They happen all the time. We've got a catchweight fight happening this weekend. Casey Kenny versus Nathaniel Wood. Purely a catchweight because Wood taking it on short notice. Casey Kenny taking it on a quick turnaround. They don't want to cut as much weight. They've agreed to make this fight happen. We need that fight to happen to fill up the card. Make it a catchweight bout. I don't care. They're both unranked. Who cares? All good. But Conor McGregor versus Dustin Poirier is a title elimination bout. This ain't McGregor-Cerrone. I was okay with McGregor-Cerrone. I wasn't okay at first with it being at 170. It made no sense in relevance to the 155 pound rankings. But eventually I got over it because it was announced 6 weeks before the fight actually happened. So there wasn't a lot of time. It was announced before Christmas, and then we went through Christmas and New Year's, and then the fight happened. So I understood why they probably wouldn't want to cut weight. Christmas dinner's pretty nice. Conor McGregor, Donald Cerrone, fight at 170. Cerrone's an older guy. I get it. Don't make him cut any weight. That makes the fight a little bit more interesting. Cool. I'm all on board. But Dustin Poirier, Conor McGregor is not Donald Cerrone versus Conor McGregor. This is a title elimination bout at 155 pounds. The winner of this fight could very well earn themselves a shot at the title at 155 pounds. If you're fighting a title elimination bout for the 155 pound world title, you fight at 155 pounds. Is that so hard to understand, Conor McGregor and Dustin Poirier? I get that you don't want to cut weight. No one does. I'm all on board to stop weight cutting overall. I think it's a dumb idea. I don't know why fighters drain themselves of 25 pounds the day before the fight. It makes no sense. But what you can't do is start letting very specific people start picking and choosing what weight class they want to fight at from what suits them. Because then you've got a little bit of a problem. Because as soon as Conor McGregor and Poirier do it, and now McGregor's done it twice, Masvidal Covington, we don't want to cut weight. We want to be at 185. See the problem here? It just seems a little bit weird that they would do this. I don't even think Colby would make 185 because he doesn't cut too much weight. But you get my point. We're going to start getting a little bit crazy. And as soon as McGregor does it, all the other fighters are going to see him and go, me too. That's all they do. Monkey see, monkey do. It seems that way in the UFC a lot of the time. A lot of people seem to follow trends after one big name starts something off. And I don't want that to happen. If we're going to stop weight cutting, and we're going to stop the overall weight cutting situation, I agree with you, John Kavanagh here. We should stop this. Let's do it all at once, all together, and make everyone do it. Let's not have other people have to fight at their weight class, but these two specific guys, because they're big names, don't have to do it. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Fight at 155 pounds, and I'll tell you this right now. I'll go one further here. Title elimination bouts, in my opinion, if I was in charge of the UFC, title elimination bouts would, first of all, this would be in contract. If you were in a title elimination bout, you must fight at the weight class at which you then want to fight for the title for afterwards. That's rule number one. There would be 2 other rules. Rule number 2 would be, and I would go one further here, and I know the UFC aren't going to do this, but I would do this if I was in charge of the UFC. You must make championship weight. That's rule number 2 on my list. That's a big deal to me because I don't like guys who drain themselves to make, let's say they're fighting at lightweight here, drain themselves to make 156 pounds, look terrible on the scales, and then we've got to go out there and watch them fight for the world championship. And then we play the big guessing game of, oh, can this big guy for the division really make championship weight? I'd rather there not be that discussion whatsoever. And we've already seen the guy make championship weight in his title elimination bout. And I feel like that would make the whole thing a lot more trustworthy of happening because we wouldn't have to worry about anyone missing weight if they'd already done it before the fight for the title. Do you see what I mean here? Let's make that happen. That's rule number 2 in my opinion. Fight at the weight class that you want to fight for the belt for afterwards. Make championship weight. And third of all, be in a main event. I feel like that's just another thing in here. It has nothing to do with the weight class, I know, but I thought I'd chuck it in anyway. Something else that I would change if I was in charge of the UFC is that all title elimination bouts would be scheduled for 5 rounds in a main event, whether that be the main event of a pay-per-view because it's McGregor versus Poirier. I understand not all title elimination bouts are going to get that treatment, but let's make them fight night headliners with a great co-main event. I'm sick of these title elimination bouts happening on prelims for 3 rounds. Let's answer all the questions that we ask to a challenger before he fights a champion, before he steps foot in the cage with the champion. Let's have all of those questions answered because I feel like every single time a challenger fights a champion, we ask the same 2 questions. Is he going to make championship weight if he's a big guy and has trouble making weight? Oh, I wonder if he'll make championship weight. That extra pound's a big deal. We'd already know that answer if you followed my rules and I implemented my rules. We also asked him the question, what's he going to look like in 5 rounds? What's he going to look like when the spotlight's on him and he's in a main event and everyone's watching him and everyone's there for him? We'd also answer that question in a title elimination bout as well. I think that's a great idea to implement those 3 rules for title elimination bouts. And this one needs to take place at 55 because I swear to God, I need this to affect the rankings at 55. Because I don't know what they're going to do because it just would make no sense. Let's fight at 55, no? I think this benefits Conor McGregor at 170, so I understand why he's pushing for it. He's a very smart guy, Conor McGregor, because it feels like recently, when you watch guys move up a weight class, they look a little bit weird on their first attempt. Like, a lot of them look a little bit lethargic. They're not used to carrying their new amount of weight around. They've never done it before, so that's just a little bit weird. They're fighting at a little bit of a different frequency. They have to pace themselves a little bit differently. They have to get used to it. And then once they get through that first fight at a new weight class, upper weight class, then they start looking a bit more like themselves. We've seen that happen many times before. It happened with RDA. He had a little bit of a weird showing at 170. Then he had to pick things up, try it again, and eventually he got things done. These things happen. Luke Rockhold moving up against Jan Blachowicz looked a little bit slow, little bit laboured, not really used to the speed of things, looked a little bit heavy in there, like it just seems to be the case. And Conor McGregor's fought at 170 pounds many times before. Dustin Poirier hasn't. And this would benefit McGregor in my opinion. Now, you could also say that Dustin Poirier draining himself to 55 pounds is going to affect his chin. And McGregor might have a bit more of a problem trying to KO Dustin Poirier in that first round, whether it be at 55 or 170. That argument can also be made, but I feel like this kind of benefits McGregor. He's used to that division. He's fought in that division multiple times. He's been 5 rounds with Nate Diaz in that division as well. I just don't get it, man. Fight at 55. It makes so much sense. And I don't want to start setting the precedent for every UFC fighter if they don't want to cut weight to just mutually agree not to basically make the weight class. Because that will start happening, Dana White. So I'm glad that Dana White's come out and said that he disagrees with this. And I'm also glad as well, segueing into Khabib's message about this, that Khabib came out and said it as well, because this will guarantee Conor McGregor doing it, because I think Conor McGregor wants more than anything else right now, regardless of the Poirier fight, regardless of a bit of extra money, regardless of this or that or this or that. McGregor wants a rematch with Khabib. He wants to right the wrong, get it done, and make himself look a little bit better, because I feel like the Khabib Nurmagomedov loss is a little bit of a cloud over the top of him right now. He can't seem to shake that off, and until he gets that Khabib rematch, that cloud will forever be there. He wants to fight with Khabib, and so Khabib came out and said Conor McGregor rematch makes sense at 55. At 170, it's bye-bye. I understand that completely. Make it happen at 155 pounds. I'm glad that Khabib understands that as well, and I'm glad that Khabib is kind of recently restoring some law and order into his own division a little bit. I wish other champions would do that as well and start telling their title elimination bouts what to do. It makes a little bit of sense. It creates more of a storyline as well, and I think McGregor will see this and see that Khabib, who recently has not been talking about a McGregor rematch whatsoever, has now said that it makes sense at 155 pounds. McGregor, if that is not a sign for you to immediately get on that treadmill and start working up a sweat to cut down to 55, I don't know what is. Make the fight 155 pounds. I don't want to hear this retardation anymore. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. I'm glad Dana White stepped up against it. I'm glad Khabib stepped up against it, and now I'm stepping up against it. And not only that, I'm adding one more. Make championship weight. If I see McGregor scrape down to 156 and Poirier scrape down to 156, I don't want to fucking hear about it. Make a statement. Both of you make championship weight at 155 in a title elimination bout. Let's set a precedent going forward to make sure that every title elimination bout and every title elimination bout participant makes championship weights. And let's get this show on the road, because right now you've got Tony Ferguson. If he fights again this year, maybe in December, he could potentially steal a title shot from McGregor. So McGregor, make it undeniable. 55 in January, 257. Let's make this fight happen. I understand maybe why they're not announcing this fight this week, because they could be waiting until after Khabib versus Gaethje. Maybe that's why. Maybe McGregor has already agreed to 155 pounds and my making of this video is completely and utterly pointless, like the majority of my videos that go on here. But still, it feels like we're in agreement. Let's just make it happen. But I understand maybe why they wouldn't want to announce it yet, because Khabib Gaethje this weekend. UFC probably doesn't want to steal the spotlight away from Khabib Gaethje. They'd rather wait until after Khabib Gaethje and then maybe announce it close to the Silver versus Hall card, which is next weekend, to try and get some more spotlight on the UFC during that card, because the main event is good, don't get me wrong, but could do with a little bit more. But I know McGregor probably wants to announce the fight right now and steal some of the spotlight from Khabib versus Gaethje, so we'll see what happens. I think we'll hear an official announcement with this week or the next. We'll see. Thank you for watching the video. That's my thoughts on the entire situation. Like and subscribe. Click that button up there. Fight at 55 or shut your fucking mouth. Toodle pip.